Our show is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phone, Kindle Fire, and other devices with Stitcher. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or on Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Pray with me if you will. Come, Holy Spirit, come. Come with the fire and burn. Come with the rain and cleanse. Come with the wind and breathe. Come with the light and reveal. Convict us, convert us, consecrate us. Claim and call us with your care and concern, O God, until we do something. Amen. Scholars tell us that all four of the so-called synoptic gospels record a resurrection story. John's, however, is the longest empty tomb story in the so-called canonical gospels. Mary Magdalene, a key figure in all resurrection accounts, comes to the tomb, finds the stone rolled away, and assumes the body has been stolen. Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus have already anointed the body, so according to John, she couldn't have come to do that. But in fact, Mark contradicts John and says that's exactly what she had come to do. She runs and tells Peter and the beloved disciple, John, and they run to the tomb. However, Peter is outrun by John, and on the most scant evidence of an empty tomb and discarded burial clothes, John becomes the first believer in the resurrection. The second half of the text picks up on Mary's unanswered question. They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have taken him. Mary comes in the dark. For the gospel, this is a sign of rejection or perhaps ignorance. Mary does not get it. The stone has been rolled away. The burial clothes are there, but the body is gone. On this thin evidence, the beloved disciple believed the resurrection. Mary takes Jesus for the gardener. It is only as he calls her by name that she realizes who he is. Jesus says, "Do not touch me," because for John, resurrection and ascension are one and the same. When Mary returns to tell the disciples she has experienced the risen Lord, the story has not changed, but she has. The encounter with Jesus has transformed her forever. I don't remember the sociologist I stole the phrase from, but I still use it from time to time. It has to do with how we react to change. And the phrase goes thusly: only two people truly appreciate change. The people asking for money outside the convenience store and a wet baby. How strange in that change is the only constant from the time we enter this world to the time we exit. Yet we frequently miss life as it is happening because of our resistance to change. For about 30 years, I wore a beard because I really don't like shaving. And then my beard turned white, and I couldn't stand it. So I had to shave. And I've never shaved every day. My dad told me when I was 17 that he didn't shave but twice a week until he was 27. And what changed for him was he was drafted during World War II. And of course, the Army expected him to shave every day, even when he was in battle. It was good advice he gave, and it served me well for most of my life. I have used shaving cream and a razor. That changed about 10 years ago when someone gave me a very nice electric razor. It still gives a very nice shave. However, on Sunday, I still do the shaving cream and razor thing. What has changed for me is I now have to wear reading glasses when I shave. I don't want to cut that old guy in the mirror. All right, Gary. 8 years ago on Easter, Easter was April 8th. The text was the same, but the title was Go Ahead, Change the World. We gave everyone at the 10:30 service an energy-efficient fluorescent bulb. We had data and detail about how if everybody changed just one bulb in their house to an energy-efficient fluorescent bulb, that exponentially, several hundred times over, this would be a great change in not just energy, but in the things we wouldn't have to destroy. I'm even more convinced that this is just as true today. However, I'm just as strongly convinced that those who choose not to change, or worse, seek to keep others from embracing change, will do so in the name of bigotry, hatred, or just plain mean-spiritedness. The stuff that's been going on the last 2.5 weeks in Indiana and Arkansas about businesses having the absolute right to serve their constituency as they see fit caused me to laugh a bit. In the name of so-called religious freedom, people say that they can refuse the right to serve people. It seems in violation of federal law, but they're trying to move that agenda forward. Let me explain. More than 40 years ago, I was a youngster, a teenager, working for my dad and his partner, Bill. They were shell dealers for most of their 30-year partnership, meaning a service station. Imagine this, if you might, a service station where you actually received service. My father was a factory-trained Ford mechanic. When that really meant something, it probably still does today, but it meant a lot back then for his business. Between these two men, there were 9 dependent children, their wives, and homes and expenses. The business was in Garden Grove, California, about 40 miles from here in central Orange County. My father wasn't a mechanic, and an extraordinary one at that. People sought my father out for reasons I would need a sociologist to discern. There was a large gay community in Garden Grove. Gay women especially trusted my father's work. I was not yet 18 when I witnessed the following conversation. My father's partner, Bill, says to my dad, who went by the name Red, "So Red, are you going to work on every gay woman's car?" He actually inserted a derogatory name for a gay woman. "Are you going to work on every gay woman's car?" Father replied, "I will if they ask me." Bill said, "Why?" He said, "Because, Bill, our business has expenses, so do you and I, and personally, we have expenses. Besides, the last time I checked, their money is green and spends, just like mine and yours." If there was another conversation, I didn't witness it. I never heard it publicly. I think Bill changed his mind because of my father's conversation. I asked my dad more than a decade later if he remembered the conversation. He said he did and still felt the same way. I don't know whether my father was really that progressive or simply pragmatic. A matter of a few words can make a dynamic change. Just a few words. During my interview nearly 30 years ago to be an ordained elder in the United Methodist Church, a seasoned pastor asked me a really pointed question. There was a committee of about 15, and I was in the hot seat. He said, "Imagine this scenario. I'm a man whose marriage of nearly 20 years has just ended, leaving me feeling worthless spiritually. Now, convince me that God loves me." So I laid out some platitudes and slathered on some phrases about grace and hope. He stopped me in mid-sentence, saying, "I'm not convinced." I paused a few seconds to gain composure because I was sure I had failed the interview. I called him by name, and somehow the words came to me. I said, you know, I really don't have that kind of power to convince you that God loves you. Only God can do that. You will have to come to that conclusion on your own. What I can do is tell you my personal experience of the love of God, never abandoning us, ever. Always embracing us, even when we feel lost and alone. He slapped his hands together and said, that's perfect. That's what I needed to hear. Later, after the interview, by the way I somehow did pass, he put his arm around me and he said, Joey, what you don't know is I've just gone through a terrible divorce and I felt totally worthless spiritually. So I went to somebody for spiritual guidance and I felt worse after the conversation. Some changes happen quickly, some over time and space. When I was a pastor in Riverside, a companion United Methodist Church, Grace United Methodist in Riverside, the pastor there was Reverend Lucille Hanson. And the story goes thus. I've shared this a couple of times in the past couple of weeks because something similar happened to me. It seems a mature parishioner hadn't been there for like almost 3 Sundays, and that 4th Sunday showed up, and Lucy said, I've missed you. I didn't know, how are you? And the person, it happened to be a woman, said, well, I was in the hospital. And Lucy said, did you tell anyone? Did you leave word with the office? And the woman looked at her and said somewhat defiantly, no, if you were a good pastor, you would know. And I thought about it, and it kind of stung for me. I'd like to tell you this has never happened to me, but that would not be truthful. It happens. I will tell you, I'm a pretty decent pastor. What I am not is psychic. I don't have that skill. And in the day and age where I live on email and I have this electronic leash on my belt, if you want me, you can get me, but I can't read minds. The change for me with regard to being stung by that kind of criticism is to understand the spiritual immaturity behind it. And my true need to be mature, to not scold or to be anything other than an effective and loving pastor. Another story involving my time in Riverside. We lived in Rubidoux, and there was a lot of open space in Riverside County. There still is. But one afternoon, I don't remember whether it was a Sunday or not, but Sue and I were taking a drive, and I was driving, and somehow I got us lost, which probably is the reason for the conversation. Conversation got a little tense, and then out in that rural Riverside County, we were stopped by people herding wild donkeys. While we're waiting for them to cross, I look at Sue and I say, wild brain jackasses. Relatives of yours, no doubt. She looked at me and said with a smile, yes, by marriage. The addendum to this is in the last 10 years, when Sue and I travel by car, she almost always drives. A, because she is a better driver, and B, because I make her nervous. You know, I'm a one-eyed driver. I have good vision in both eyes, but I cock my head at 15 degrees and look out of one eye. So it makes her a little twitchy, to say the least. So why not? She drives. Beloved, it is Easter Sunday. Lent is over, spring is in the air, change is not just plausible, it's really possible. If it is personal change, alter behavior, which will bring it about. If it is systemic change, follow the thinking of Dr. Matthew Fox, the great Catholic scholar and Christian mystic. He says it in a sentence. First, be the change you seek. Be the change you you seek. Another take would be from Catherine Mansfield, New Zealand writer who lived from 1888 to 1923. She says it this way: to learn, to know, to feel, to think, to act. This is what I want and nothing else. This is what I must try for. Alice Walker, a great American author from Eatonton, Georgia, who, last time I checked, is still with us. She says it this way: every small positive change we make in ourselves repays us in confidence in the future. The smallest change can make a difference. Changing one word. I spoke earlier about shaving and not in an overly positive way. Well, that improved about 6 months ago. My son Ian has, over the years, been getting me a particular shaving cream that I really like. And he said about 6 months ago, I found something better. I think you'll like this stuff. The truth is, I really do. In part because it's a pump rather than an aerosol, so I feel better about the environment. The name of that product is Kiss My, wait for it, Face. It's a remarkable product, and my wife does kiss my face when I shave on Sunday because I don't have stubble that day. Beloved, one simple word can make such a difference. Love as opposed to hate, forgiveness as opposed to judgment, hope as opposed to fear on this Easter Sunday and every day you draw. I encourage you to live into the positive and say goodbye to the negative. Seeing the comment about Betty Kennedy. Betty was a wonderful singer. She sang big bands with several very famous big bands. One Sunday I preached a sermon about being positive, and she came out singing the tune, accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, and don't worry about Mr. In Between. That's the call and claim that Jesus calls us to this day and eternally. May it ever be so. Amen.
Thank you for listening to the First United Methodist Church podcast, which is recorded live every week at 4832 Tahunga Avenue in North Hollywood, California, and delivered by Dr. Joey McDonald. For more info on us, please check out nohofumc.com or find us on Facebook and Twitter under NoHoFUMC.